I really need more crack. So I'm starting a GoFundMe to get more crack. Welcome back to Business Blaze. This episode of Business Blaze is brought to you by Blinkist, the first 100 people to go to blinkist.com/businessblaze. I asked for Blaze, but they couldn't do it, so we got /Business Blaze. It's good enough, and you'll get a week to try out Blinkist. And also, if you end that week and you're like, wow, that was amazing, which you will be like, you'll get 25% off the full membership. Let's get into it. I'll tell you a bit more about Blinkist in a bit. It'll be fun. Let's go. 5 more Kickstarter fails. I put a sponsor on this one because I gotta make my sponsor videos do better, and the last Kickstarter video did really well. So, I mean, to be honest, there's so many train wrecks on Kickstarter that we're gonna be good for a while if this turns into a series. Let's do it. I don't think I've got a very long bucket list. Oh, Danny. That's either because you're not very, you don't really dream big enough.
Have you ever had a dream that you had?
You're trapped in a basement, or you did it all already. It would be nice to think that this is because I've already done absolutely everything I ever wanted to do in life, and now I'm cruising in contentment to my grave. But it's more likely that I can only think of things that I'm unlikely to ever get off my ass and do anyway. I wouldn't mind taking a hot air balloon trip over the Valley of the Kings in Egypt, or going llama trekking across the Jura Mountains, just north of the Western Alps, or going for a haircut in complete silence without having to talk where I've been on for my holidays. Oh yeah, I don't miss that. Like going to the hairdressers or the barbers or whatever, it's like, oh god. Conversation. It's the worst.
Fuck you, and fuck you. Who's next?
Also, I rode camels once, which I assume has got to be like riding a llama. I mean, they're pretty similar. It was not brilliant. Camels are really mean. They're really uncomfortable. It was a bad time. I didn't have a good time. I've rode horses a few times. I don't like that either. I just crunch my balls, if I'm honest about it. It's like, and if I'm not, I'm just in constant fear of that happening. So that's horse riding for me. Llama riding, camel riding, hard pass. Or finally getting my hands on a limited edition of the 4-patty Big Mac from McDonald's. Done that, Danny. Done that. I haven't done the balloon trip. I've done the trekking, that was okay. I haven't had a haircut in complete silence. I have had a haircut in complete silence because I do it myself and I don't talk to myself. I even cut my hair myself before I went completely bald. I was just like, yeah, I'll just give it a trim. It'll be fine. Or getting through an entire Business Blaze script without making a reference to a previous video. That'll never happen, Danny. Actually, now that I think about it, maybe I could just come up with quite a long bucket list after all. I just need to somehow get a bit more motivated to turn these ambitions and dreams into reality. And help could be at hand with a project on Kickstarter called My Bucket List. The team behind the project sound a bit full of themselves. Well, yeah, it's Kickstarter. The mother and daughter and auntie or something team have apparently been enjoying entrepreneurial adventures together since 1993 and have previously come up with all sorts of thrilling ideas for products that you've never heard of or needed. They recall the fateful day when they were all shopping on a shopping trip and overheard a fellow customer talking about her bucket list. They claim that immediately light bulbs went off in their entrepreneurial minds, which is a bit odd in itself, as I always thought the mental light bulb was meant to turn on when you had an amazing idea. Maybe this is where the team is going disastrously wrong. Oh yeah, that's a reference to an earlier joke, because I was like, wait, doesn't the bulb turn on when you have the idea rather than the light bulb itself appear? I don't remember what this was. It was a long time ago. So confused. Anyway, here's the idea, and you need to make sure you're sitting down before I reveal it to you. In case your brain starts to get fizzy from such an amazing revelation, well, I'll let you know how it goes, Danny. I'm not sure if you can see me, but I'm down here on the floor. Floor gang. What if your bucket list was written on an actual bucket? Oh, it's amazing! Danny, this is going to change the world. Yes, what the team had done here is to get hold of a standard bucket, print a few blank lines on the side where you can compose your own list, and charge you £30 for it. Why would anyone buy this? Why? Your entries can be rubbed off if you achieve your goals, change your minds, or die. Well, that's grim. And they've thoughtfully included a little coin slot on top so that you can save up for your forthcoming adventures or pass it around at parties and get your guests to contribute. This is so shitty. It's like, hey, welcome to my house. I really want to go llama trekking in the Alps. There's a bucket over there. If you want to drop in a few quid, that'd be really welcome. Also, that expensive, that bucket's gonna need to be really full. Apparently there's even a patent pending on this remarkable new invention. If that ever gets improved, I'll film myself eating a massive bucket of jelly deals. We'll hold you to that, Danny. From what I can gather, you can now buy my bucket list directly from the team's website, although this had nothing to do with the Kickstarter project. They originally had hoped to raise just under £40,000 in pledges. Yeah, good luck with that, guys. But although it gets funded on Kickstarter all the time, that is utterly useless and bad. Fortunately, they raised £92. Now the most 3 people bought this, really?
Fuck you, and fuck you!
Now the most pressing entry on my own bucket list is to come up with 5 more examples of Kickstarter projects which are cringeworthy enough to make my bucket list seem like quite a charming and potentially promising business idea. Well, Danny, like we say on Business Place, always start strong, and then Danny leads with one that he hopes to outdo himself with. Well, I thought it was fairly which is what we aim for here, so I think we're good to go. Triton artificial gills. Imagine being able to breathe underwater without the need for a massive air tank or a big long snorkel. You could go swimming with dolphins, go hunting for lost Nazi gold, or recover that shopping trolley that you threw in the river during that drunken night out in 1997. Oh no. I went to like university, it was like a big campus university. Definitely would never do something like that. I'd just seen it happen many times. There was this shop, and this was actually not the one near me, but it was near a friend of mine's halls of residence. And the students are so lazy that what you do is, you've got your shopping trolley, and instead of like leaving it, you'd just, you'd put the 50p in there, which is like no money or like very little money, and then you just wheel the shopping trolley all the way home because you're like, I'm not going to carry all my shopping. I don't have a car. I'm just going to wheel it like the 10 minutes walk home and then just leave it in my halls of residence. And the great thing was, like once there's one trolley there, you can just plug your trolley into that one that's already there and get your 50p back. So that's a bit of a problem. And then the shop introduced this line around the supermarket parking lot, which somehow when you push the shopping trolley over it would lock up the wheel so you couldn't push it anymore. But if you lifted the shopping trolley high enough and threw it over that line, it wouldn't activate the wheel locks anymore. So yeah, that was still okay. The mysterious Triton company, who are either from Stockholm in Sweden or somewhere in South Korea, okay, or depending on where you get your information from, reckon they come up with the answer in 2016. Triton claimed to have developed the world's first artificial gills rebreather. It was a pretty compact device, which kind of looked like handlebars on a very small bike, except you wrapped it around your head and breathed into it. Sam, there's a picture here for me, so I assume you will have it. Ha-da-da-da-da! It's pretty cool. I mean, if this was real, that's f***ing sick. Triton has said that, but it's obviously not going to work, is it? Triton said that the device used a microcompressor to extract breathable air from the water and store it in a tiny tank. Powered by a lithium-ion battery, the device would give you the freedom to happily breathe underwater for almost an hour. The company was hoping to raise $700,000 from crowdfunding the artificial gills and get them into the shops at around $300 a pop. If this was real, I'd buy the shit out of that. It's super cool. But also, aren't you going to get like all of that? I mean, you can't just go diving without learning how to do it because you'll die. I mean, if there's like a device you can buy for $300, just go like underwater for an hour. You're going to have like a brain thing or whatever where you get the bubbles in your brain or like in your... It's gonna go bad. And the campaign certainly started to attract plenty of attention, smashing its target goal within weeks and generating just under $1 million in pledges. But the product had its doubters. For starters, Triton had no address or phone number listed on their website and social media pages, just an email address, which they never bothered to use to respond to the flood of queries. Secondly, they provided no plausible explanation of how exactly their artificial gills worked, and the company didn't appear to have any scientific background. Yeah, I mean, this is like, you just made up something fake. It's like, yeah, I invented X-ray glasses, and they actually work. You could totally see through walls and women's clothes and all that shit that, I don't know, teenagers want X-ray glasses for from the back of comics. But they're not real. Don't make a Kickstarter project for them. But most importantly, if their claims had been true, these artificial gills would have been one of the most remarkable breakthroughs of modern times, solving a problem which has eluded the greatest scientific minds for centuries. And you don't usually need to drum up investment from crowdfunding platforms for such a game-changing invention. Big league investors would be queuing outside your door to throw millions of dollars at you. Yes. After bubbles of concern first rose to the surface, Triton eventually felt compelled to clarify their position and refunded all the pledges in case anyone had felt misled. What, by actually not having a product that worked? They now claimed the product wasn't technically the world's first artificial gills rebreather or after all. It was more of a kind of new and updated oxygen canister approach which relied on liquid oxygen and probably wouldn't last very long underwater. So, well, it was fake. It was fake. Details are still a bit vague, but quite incredibly, they relaunched their campaign and within just a few hours still managed to pull in another $47,000. The revised campaign ended up attracting $240,000 in total from people who must surely have been on the same mental level as Plankton. Harsh, Danny, harsh. I mean, people get suckered in by scams all the time because they're like, oh my god, that's so cool, I want one. and then you pay your money, and then you're like, oh, it doesn't exist. And you'd be like, surely they can't lie about that on Kickstarter. Well, allegedly they can, totally can. Allegedly. But the platform eventually stepped in and closed down the campaign until more concrete information about the product can be provided. 4 years later, we're still waiting. So probably best not to hold your breath. Ba-da-boom-boom! I get the feeling we're about to move on to another topic. Yes, we are. The fish on wheels. There's a picture here, which I've seen already, so Sam. Here's something equally as fishy as the artificial gills rebreather. I'm getting tired. I often wonder what drives somebody to splash out on goldfish for pets. I can only assume they're meant for either very busy people or very lazy people. They're more like art, aren't they? I mean, it doesn't really do anything. You have to feed it, but it's like, oh, it's pretty. Look at that. Look how nice it is. A fish tank. It's not like it's not like a dog or a cat or something. It's not like you can pet it. I once looked after a pair of goldfish for some neighbors who were going on holiday. I don't think they'd ever been given proper names, so I called them Bert and Ernie. But as I sat back and watched them mooch around in circles in the same small tank, I started feeling sorry for them and got a sudden urge to let them loose into the wild. Oh, Danny, no! Maybe it's a good job I didn't go through with it in the end, but when I handed the goldfish back over to their owners, I kind of felt like I'd let Bert and Ernie down. It seems Dutch company Studio Dip was thinking along very similar lines to me. Their Kickstarter campaign boldly announced that finally some freedom for our aquatic pets that have been so far limited to their fish tanks. This is so dumb. It's just going to scare the out of the fish, isn't it? Fish on Wheels was a tank mounted onto a small cart that was equipped with motion sensors. So the fish can effectively steer their owners or go-kart around your house as the wheels will turn in tandem with the direction in which the fish is swimming. Why? I mean, it's kind of cool. But why? Part of the problem here was the price. It would cost you around £250 to get your hands on the cruising buggy for fish, and the studio were looking for around £36,000 in pledges to get started on production. Another slight issue that I have is I'm not entirely convinced the fish would appreciate this expensive gesture, and perhaps most importantly of all, I do wonder how long it would take for the novelty to wear off of an invention that doesn't really achieve much more than getting a chance to watch a cart randomly banging and crashing about your house, knocking over things and spilling drinks and tripping up visitors. Also, it's like, that could go down the stairs, it could go out into the garden. It's not going to be a good time if you've got a cat, the fish is fucked. Maybe it would have been better marketed as the world's most expensive cat toy. Danny and I, same page. Despite these reservations, Studio Dip felt supremely confident of their success with the fish on wheels. They reckoned they're not going to do it. They're definitely not going to be able to get enough of this sold. They reckoned that they received hundreds of emails and telephone calls about the product after the campaign was first launched on Kickstarter. Most of those emails were just one subject line. Really? Question mark? Exclamation mark? Question mark? But this didn't seem to convert into pledges. The project stalled at £4,811, and the studio admitted that the project was just too expensive for what it was meant to be. What I'd really like to see them work on next is a fish tunnel jumper, so you can take your fish for walkies the next time you're shopping or due to make a court appearance. What the f is a fish tunnel jumper? I have no idea what that means. Danny, I don't get it, but that's okay. You know what I do get? And you know what you should get? Blinkist. My love for Blinkist is strong. Okay, so what do I have to tell you? Yeah, okay, so reading books are massive, and they take ages to read because they're massive. Even with audiobooks, you can be like listening and it's like, oh my god, it's like 12 hours. I don't have 12 hours. I'm a busy ass dude. Look, I make like 700 videos a week. I'm a busy dude, but I still want to get the valuable information from books. And that is where Blinkist comes in. It's on my phone. If I bring my phone here, it's gonna like screw up my microphone because and that's a nightmare to edit out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna tell you about it and probably throw up some pictures on the screen because, I don't know, that's better anyway, isn't it? Blinkist, basically what you do is you go in there and you get some books, you sign up and there's loads of books. How many books is there? Okay, there's like 3,000 non-fiction books, which is insane. And then you get 15-minute summaries, which are either in text form if you like to read, or audio form. I tend to go, although now it's like the virus time again, there's loads of virus here, that I'm not taking the public transport anymore, so I'm either taking an Uber to work or I'm walking. If I'm walking, honestly, I definitely get through more than 50, it takes longer than 15 minutes. So normally I'll listen to like 15 minutes of Blinkist and then, oh, well, that's enough. It's so information dense, which is good. And then I'll listen to like some comedy podcast or something. But that's a good thing because it's so information dense. You like listen to it and it's like, wow, all of the most vital points from a whole book. How? 15 minutes, Blinkist, is amazing. And 14 million active users think it's amazing too. What is that? Best insights, I gotta say some stuff here that's actually relevant. Best insights, need to know information, thousands of books. Yeah, it covers everything, like self-help to business. I recently checked out, I recently actually was on holiday, and like last week, that's why there weren't any business blazers. Probably like 3 weeks ago now for you guys. But I was like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna read this whole book. and then I didn't. It's called Rebel Ideas by Matthew Said. It's, so far, it's very good. And I'm like, yeah, let's see if Blinkist has this, because I don't have much time. And guess what? They do, because they've got like 3,000 books. It's a lot of books. They've also got curated lists, like where they put together a bunch of books that are related to a specific subject. It's pretty cool if you're not looking for something in particular, you just want to be inspired. But the first 100 of you guys to go to Blinkist.com/businessblaze, you get a week to try it out, you'll find out it's awesome, and then you'll end up paying them. Which is, that's good for me, it's good for the show, it's good for you because it makes you smarter, and that's good. Again, a 7-day free trial, Blinkist.com/businessblaze. That supports the show, and I appreciate it, you legends. Let's carry on. The Earth is flat, Bob's sure of that. Back in 2017, American musician Bob, maybe it's B.O.B., I don't know, I've never heard of him. You never heard of Bob? No, absolutely not, and honestly, he sounds terrible. Decided to launch a campaign on Gofundme, which was looking to raise $1 million, okay, I guess he's not that terrible, to help convince him that the Earth is round. Now this begs the immediate question, who on earth is Bob? Yes, I'd never heard of him, and apparently his name is pronounced B.O.B. Okay, could have led with that, Danny. Instead of just plain old, I'm gonna call him Bob. I like it more. But he's a hip-hop recording artist from Decatur, I don't even know how to pronounce where he's from, in Georgia, who contributed to a few hit singles and collaborations at the beginning of the 2010s, but hasn't really managed to sell anything for the best part of 10 years. Now, Bob currently holds a firm belief that the Earth is flat. Oh, so not only is he not very successful or good, he's also an idiot, allegedly. He's been involved in several social media spats over the years, including people who haven't the foggiest idea what they're talking about, like astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yeah, why would the astrophysicist know what he was talking about? Bob. But Bob is willing to be persuaded otherwise if he can see the proof for himself. So he proposed a very vague plan on GoFundMe to launch multiple satellites into space with the ultimate goal of finding the curve. I don't think we need to spend too much time discussing why this is such a ridiculous idea. No, we definitely don't. The Earth is round. Smash that dislike button, you crazies. The same people who believe in this the same people who think Bill Gates is injecting microchips, that 5G causes COVID. Oh my god, you morons. There is no other way to describe you. Smash the dislike button. I'm pretty sure we don't need to give a largely forgotten hip-hop artist $1 million to tell us that the Earth is round. The Greeks figured it out about 2,000 years ago, yes. But the quite alarming thing about the campaign is that Bob managed to raise $6,888 in his hazy quest to find the curve of the Earth. And there's probably a very good reason why he chose GoFundMe as the platform to raise his money. Also, he has no idea how much launching a satellite costs. That is mad expensive. $1 million ain't gonna cut it, Bob. And there's probably a good reason why he chose GoFundMe as the platform to raise his money. Yeah, Danny, this is supposed to be about Kickstarter, come on. Although, GoFundMe, we should just call these crowdfunding fails, because Kickstarter actually has some remote standards, whereas GoFundMe just seems to be like, I really need more crack. So, I'm starting a GoFundMe to get more crack. Or for me, I prefer cocaine. Don't forget, supporting Blinkist helps support me. And my drug habit. The rules and regulations on GoFundMe are generally a lot less strict than other platforms, and this makes it an ideal hunting ground for scammers. There's no target goal to reach here. You can take home whatever you're donated. As long as you don't do anything illegal with the funds or purposefully mislead investors, then you get to keep every cent. There's almost zero accountability. So Bob could in theory have raised $1 million and made out that he'd launched some satellites in space, but couldn't find the Earth's curve, and then pocket all the money, having proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Earth is flat. Now that good luck with that, Bob. Not that he would have realistically been able to launch anything into space anyway, as it usually costs anywhere between $10 million to $400 million to send a satellite into space, yeah. It's difficult to tell whether Bob was just trying to claw back some attention, or the whole thing was a scam, or he really is a loony. I have no idea who he is. No one cares. Let's just forget him as quickly as possible. The good news is that GoFundMe did eventually decide to wake up from the slumber long enough to take positive action. Although they were keen to point out that Bob hadn't technically violated any of the platform's terms of service, they've frozen the project and the funds until such a time when Bob can provide a bit more useful information. So wait, GoFundMe just hold on to the money for now? Okay. That seems a bit shady. Allegedly. Since then, the project appears to have flatlined, and we haven't heard much about Bob in recent years. Maybe he fell off the edge of the world, let's hope so. The bath suit. Oh god. The Italian inventor and designer Bruno Anselmo outlines one of the biggest problems facing the world today in his Kickstarter campaign from 2018. At present, there are no t-shirts that can promptly provide a bag for vomiting in cases of car sickness, seasickness, or air sickness. You hit the nail right on the head there, Bruno. I don't know if Danny's being sarcastic, but I get car sick, I get a bit travel sick. Not so bad on planes, boats are a f***ing nightmare, and cars sometimes if I'm looking at my phone. It is a problem. Thankfully the bath suit, like I was in the back of the Uber the other day, I'm looking at my phone, I'm like, oh my god, I'm really feeling sick. And I can't just ask if you pull over, I need to be sick. It's Corona time. People are gonna be like, oh fuck, he's got the Corona!
Coronavirus!
I don't have Corona, as far as I know. But my throat is sore, but I think it's because I've been shouting a lot in the last 2 videos. I recorded another one just before this. Batch that shit. Thankfully, the bath suit has finally landed to deal with the problem which has been hindering the progress of mankind for centuries. To be honest, a part of me thought that something like this might be genuinely useful for a typical Friday night out in Rotherham. As everyone knows, you've rarely enjoyed a proper night out unless you've been violently sick everywhere at some point. Preach, Danny, preach! And so some sort of emergency vomit clothing might prove to be quite helpful and eliminate the risk of blowing chunks all over that important first date. Oh god, Danny. I was more thinking about a night out with the boys rather than like getting absolutely violently ill on a first date. Sadly, Bruno's invention doesn't quite slice the carrots for me. It's really just a t-shirt with 2 googly eyes near the top and a big pocket at the bottom. Look, Danny, as long as that pocket is waterproof and sealable, we're all good and can be washed in a washing machine and tumble dried. The idea is that I'm not touching that shit. The idea is that you keep vomit bags with you at all times, and when you feel you're about to blow, you shove a bag in the big pocket and clip it to the 2 eyes, transforming the t-shirt into an effective vom suit. I just want it to be a pocket down here that's waterproof, and then you can just hold it up and be like, bleh. That sounds far too much like fiddling about in the heat of the moment for my liking, and besides, if you're worried about being sick and you're already equipped with vomit bags, why would you even really need the t-shirt at all? Bruno raised just £2 of his £910 goal. Oh, Bruno, and your goal was so modest. And you couldn't even get there. But he said, I'll be back stronger than before. No, you won't. No, you won't, Bruno. The belly boggles over with what he might come up with next. Bada-bum bum. Fairly weak. It's all good. Finally, here's a contender for the finally, we're already near the end. Oh my, but it's a long last one. Finally, here's a contender for either the silliest, cleverest, bravest, or downright suicidal crowdfunding campaign of all time. Oh my god, build it up, Danny. It was first launched in 2014 on Indiegogo by there's 3 of them, Indiegogo, Gofundme, and Kickstarter. I was getting Indiegogo and Gofundme confused. But there's a 3-man comedy group from Chicago called FND Films. I'd never heard of them until today, me neither, Danny, but apparently they gained something of a small cult following, posting comic sketches on YouTube from about 2005 onwards. Holy shit, OG. Like, I was on YouTube like 10 years after that. But they went a little quiet from 2012 after having little success in making the transition from YouTube to theatrically released films. Yeah, it's a bit of a jump. Like, you know, no one's putting Simon in any movies, are they? They're like, they've seen Business Blazed and it's not going to be a good PR decision, so we've decided not to pursue this at this time. It's like, okay, probably smart. But look, Tom Cruise Productions, if you're looking for someone to go into space with you next year, I am your boy. I have the blaze. We could do it, Tom. We can do it together. You and I. I'm not joining Scientology, don't get any ideas. I might join Scientology if I can go to space with you. Just putting it out there. However, they did manage to secure $11,000 in funding from Indiegogo to produce a 40-minute comedy called Punching. You need $11,000 to produce a 40-minute comedy? I mean, these videos are like 40 minutes long. They're definitely not comedies, they're definitely not informative, they're definitely not good, but they also don't cost $11,000. And just a couple of years later, they set their sights a little higher. In 2014, FND Films launched a campaign to produce a full-length feature film, which would be entitled It's All Good. Investors weren't furnished with too many details, except that this would be an epic action comedy that blended absurd humor with an intricate plot. Without a doubt, it would be the comedy trio's biggest project yet by quite some distance. The hardcore fans were happy to dip into their pockets to get the film funded. A relatively small group of just 603 investors raised a quite staggering $77,915 to propel the film into production. And then, well, nothing much happened for 3 years. FND Films went worryingly quiet. On the rare occasions that they did raise their hands above the parapet on social media, it was to post photographs and videos of themselves enjoying vacations around Europe and drinking cocktails on big boats. They ran off with your money. Maybe someone's going to prison. Some of the backers, although it's only, it's 70 grand. It's like 100 grand each for those people. 100 pounds each, $100 each. And if this is America, maybe they're going to prison. Some of the backers began to wonder what exactly all their money had been spent on. One fan politely inquired, "Can you guys give us an update on the project? The lack of communication with your backers and fans. It's even this bad taste in my mouth." Another backer gave a slightly more blunt response to seeing yet another picture pop up in his newsfeed of the FND Films team partying in Italy. He wrote, "Are you fucking serious? Where's the f***ing money?"
Where is my money? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm gonna guess it's in some Italian bar. Shortly afterwards came the devastating announcement. One of the team posted a downbeat of slightly half-assed apology video online in which he vaguely explained that due to complications beyond their control, the new film could no longer be completed. Complications beyond their control, probably that big-ass boat you rented. He would later explain on Fox News that they'd only managed to get about 10% of the film completed, and it wouldn't be possible for fans to get a refund. On a slightly more positive note, he thanked the disappointed fans and hopes that they would continue to support new F&D films in the future. Good luck with that, mate. There was a brief meltdown and several backers threatened lawsuits over their former heroes, but then came the punchline. F&D films were just pulling your leg. It turns out they had secretly completed the film after all. Oh, you turnaround legends, I love it! And in what some might describe as an epic and expertly executed exercise in trolling, the film was about a group of independent filmmakers who raise about £75,000 from crowdfunding and then blow it all on partying. Oh, this is meta. I love it. I actually love it. So it was, how have I never heard of this? So it was a fictionalized version of what their own fans had briefly believed to be true. Whilst this might be considered as exceptionally clever, I can't help feeling that pissing off your most devout fans and getting them to consider legal action against you is not the smartest thing you can do for your long-term career. I don't know, like, I have such deep appreciation for how meta that is. But I'm like, look, I mean, I'm never going to be able to fund something like, or do something like this in the future because you guys would be like, that's Simon. He liked that FND thing. He's going to blow all our money on Coke and then make a video about how he blew all the money on Coke. I love it. I actually love it. One of the team recalls receiving an email from a former fan which just consisted of the word murder repeated hundreds and hundreds of times. And honestly though, this is all great material for the sequel, isn't it? Still, the film seemed to go down well in the end, so it's all good. But boom, boom, that was the name of the film. And if such a small group of investors can raise so much money so quickly, it gives me hope that we might see Business Plays the movie one day. Oh, the dream! Indiegogo.com/Business Plays the movie. Not really. So, what would that be about? What would that be about? Simon being a dickhead everywhere, partying it up with cocaine. Simon would just need about $100,000 to repair the broken light in the back. Fuck Danny. In the background to get a few more plastic cups. I'll stick this idea on the bucket list. Also, stick on your phone the Blinkist app because it's incredible. 7 days for free. Link below. Support the show. Why am I holding my hands like this? I feel like a preacher again. Thank you for blazing with me today. Why would anyone buy this? Why?